Anger needs to be talked about. All you hear about is that it's toxic. Don't do it. Calm yourself. It is a sign of lack of control. Obviously, I should not live in a state of anger. It should not be my default setting or reaction to every little thing. But never expressing anger, expressing being the key word, because everybody experiences anger, is just as unrealistic as being happy 24/7, 365. Just because I present a happy character to the world does not make it real. Especially in early recovery from addiction, I had all these people and professionals telling me to feel and process my emotions, but not anger. Anger bad. Find a non-offensive way to do it. Here's what I found out about how my emotional spectrum really works. Imagine a line with dashes along it. On the far left, I have anger, pain, fear, and on the far right, I have joy, comfort, love, and all the different emotions and subcategories between. If I chop off one end, it equally chops off the other. What this means is that if I somehow bury, dull, bottle up, or medicate one side of this spectrum, usually the negative, if I somehow find a way to not experience it, the same is applied to the other end. You follow me here? If anger, fear, pain is avoided, it reduces my capacity for joy, courage, and healing. I've experienced this to the point where I've felt nothing, and that's when someone might use drugs or even cut just to feel something. I'm sure some can relate. I think most try to avoid their negative, thinking that they can be in the positive by running away from it. But it doesn't work that way. That would be like wanting to cut down a diseased oak tree to make way for a view of the beautiful lake and horizon without walking up to the tree with a chainsaw. The destruction needs to happen before the beauty can be revealed from your home. You can't just sit there looking out the window whining about the damn tree. I must leave my cozy home, walk across the yard, or the spectrum, and chop that fucker down. If I have a problem experiencing joy, if I'm at an awesome barbecue on a beautiful day, surrounded by loved ones, all having a good time, and I don't experience joy during that event, it's not because my pills aren't working or my genetically imbalanced brain chemistry won't allow me to. It is because I have been dulling the negative emotions I don't want to experience, and everyone has been telling me to keep it hidden or find a way to cope or alter my mood with a bubble bath, candles, and relaxing music, instead of walking around with my axe, ready to chop off the toxicity around me. Anger is actually very useful, but we have all been conditioned to put the axe down and wait until all the diseased trees fall on their own, because that axe makes them all feel nervous and offended that you are even walking with it. This is the never talked about shadow work. You see, contrary to popular belief, I understand that the only thing that initiates change in this world is anger. Don't believe me? Love and compassion for people never got anyone sober. It might be what helps them recover and heal, but it definitely wasn't what made them put it down. It was anger. That big decision everyone says the addict needs to make to stop, yes, it was kicked off from a place of anger and frustration from all the self-betrayal. The people who made the boundaries for that addict initiated through anger and frustration. A protest by the people to change policy, born out of anger. Wars, anger. No body of people stopped a violent gang of killers and rapists through love and compassion. Quitting a toxic job or leaving a spouse, anger. Any kind of reform requires anger. Most big changes in life that are for the good were first launched by anger. But if anger is not expressed, it transmutes into fear, which is why the leading malady for visits to the psych therapists is anxiety. But these days, even at the barbecue full of loving and supportive, quote-unquote, friends and family, it is considered very uncouth to bring someone aside to talk about real life and the things that are bothering me. Don't be a Debbie Downer, a negative Nancy, a party pooper. But mind you, fear is totally acceptable and normal. Anger is not. And this is socially engineered. Let's say a village is being plundered. The plunderer wants everyone in that village afraid. They don't want a bunch of angry men and women fighting back. Fear can be medicated, but anger cannot. Anger is wild and unpredictable, and anger makes other people scared and uncomfortable. But don't forget, it was anger that got them sober in the first place. Don't get it twisted. Definition: anger is recognized as one of the basic human emotions, similar to happiness, sadness, and fear. It is an intense emotional state that arises when an individual feels threatened, wronged, or frustrated. So when I finally took off my blinders, stopped dulling the negative side of my emotional spectrum, and started noticing how the world and people really operate, including myself, I recognize how much of a doormat everyone is trying to condition me to be as I take on a more responsible, or maybe I should say a more conformed and professional role. It is the character adopted to keep every person around you as comfortable as possible. You don't even need to express anger yourself. Just bring up a topic that makes them angry. A tree trying to grow beautiful leaves to not look diseased while I walk with my axe. There's plenty of those. But yet, they say don't have anger in your heart. Just because you don't express it doesn't mean it's not there, and if left unexpressed, it will make you ill and reduce your capacity for positive emotional states, the healing states. But a character isn't necessarily who I am, but who I present to the world. Is there a person who works all week and doesn't talk about what pisses them off later? Uncomfortable. There are straight-up weirdos out there that should make you feel uncomfortable. But if my honesty and authenticity makes you feel uncomfortable, why is it my responsibility to keep you happy all the time? Professionalism. I call bullshit, especially when it comes to men. This is the only division of addiction recovery I believe should be installed. I do think men's and women's groups should be separate. I know there's a scale of anger here, a level of useless toxicity versus all under control. But aside from how well a man can ignore it, stuff it, channel it into something else, the grand theme for the man is basically to not have it. Women can be pissed all they want. That's until it is socially acceptable. Let's do some lists. Acceptable anger. What the news tells me I should be angry about, and when someone dies. Gripes about work, and maybe stepping on a Lego. That's about it when it comes to what society will allow. Unacceptable anger. Taxes, all government systems, boot on your back and face in the mud. Being robbed on all levels, time, labor, attention, ... An epidemic of narcissism, generational curses, stupidity, professionalism, unearned expectations of respect, entitlement, take it like a man, systemic powerlessness, the medical industry, corporate powers and principalities, general ignorance, and then listening to those people complain about what you advise them against otherwise. And the world of lies, because it is absolutely everywhere. Try living in a truly honest state, and you will find this out real quick. The motto goes, accept what we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. They say that you can't change anyone but yourself. But yet we see people getting changed all the time because the authorities have mastered how to direct the people's anger transmuted into fearful provocation. Think about it. The saying is way too broad. What we really have are large numbers of people who have been conditioned to suppress their anger. And the powers that be get to say where they should express it and how. And that would be anywhere besides them. And this includes individuals too. You shouldn't be mad about that. That was no big deal. The wise are crushed by the herd running towards the cliff. We see it clear as day. Online censoring shows us this. You can talk about this or that, but don't talk about that or this. and you see everybody in an uproar about petty things. But when the corrupted start affecting their life, they are simply pointed to unleash it on some scapegoats. The problem makers get to direct that energy because the average person is not taught anything about the emotion. They're just told to not have it or to cope and ignore it in the name of being civil, as we watch civilization burn from a lack thereof. I call this obedience disorder. So you have a whole system upheld by each individual, designed perfectly to induce anger and use it to the system's benefit. And when you speak your angry truths, it disrupts everybody's cozy little bubble. And that's the root of obedience disorder, the delusion that you can stay cozy despite all the wrongdoing, which is exactly what an addict does. They will destroy themselves and carry the curse for a sense of comfort. Anger is a totally healthy reaction to many things, and there is nothing more infuriating than a bunch of dimwits telling me to ignore the truth instead of helping me do something about it. People who have a happiness regimen are not happy. They are avoiding anger. If I need to meditate, pray, do yoga, search for peace and purpose, journal, talk to, chat, or a therapist, I am not happy. I can't make myself happy. I can only be happy. And that is only done by diving deep into the shadows of anger. And when I come out, I will have access to the happy side of my emotional spectrum. Other than that, I only have a character to play on the stage of social acceptance.